Hey there, welcome to the Steelers Show. I'm Chris Pugh. Joe Frost is out. I don't know where he's at, Paul.
I think he's out.
Yeah, he's out. Out of sleep. Okay, he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people could take that to mean, oh, he's out. Like he's. No, he's okay. We think he's all right. No, but what to say? He's got the night off. It's okay. But Paul's here. Paul, I reserved an hour to talk about this, the Steelers and how bad they are. I don't want to do it, but we have to. I think it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
Well,
it might not be as bad as you think. So,
well, here's what I'm going to say too. In previous shows where they stunk, we like to have fun. In the last half hour, talk about anything but the Steelers. We're going to try to talk about the Steelers. Now, we'll probably have fun and say icky things that might go into other things, but we're going to try to keep it Steelers oriented throughout the whole show. Let's see. I don't know. All right, so where do we even start with this mess? The Steelers are now 1-4. I said it last week. They're a bad football team. I am a proud supporter of the Steelers, where I love how they haven't been bad for a long time. So I'm not happy they're 1-4. I mean, they got the Buccaneers, they got the Dolphins, and they got the Eagles. Very likely they're going to be 1-7. I mean, and if they win one game, we're going to be like, whoa, they beat this team. They'll be 2-6. So it's a bad football team, however you look at it. I don't know. I mean, they're a bad football team. I don't want Steelers fans to be distracted. It's easy to be distracted by the quarterback situation. It's easy to be distracted by one guy that's making us mad. This isn't a one guy change, everything's going to be okay. I mean, Paul, there's 10 guys that we can talk about next hour. They're not performing up to standards. They're awful right now. But if one of those guys gets better, they're still awful. I mean, they got a ways to go. I mean, what's your original thoughts? I'll let you talk. Sorry.
My thought is, to quote Mordo from Doctor Strange, the bill comes due. We've been kicking this can down the road for a few years now, and the bill has come due. When Ben retired, there was inevitably going to be a messy year of trying to readjust and move forward. And this is why I was advocating that we start this process a couple years ago, so that by now we could be back in form. But this is the year that we've been delaying, and here it is. I'm not discouraged. I had them going 9-8, but that was under the impression that we were going to have an elite defense, which we don't. So I'm not expecting much. I'm happy that Pickett is. This is what we need to do. Let's need to see what we have in some of these young guys. Give them some experience. This year is going to be ugly, but we need to have this ugly year to move forward. And I wish it would have happened a couple years ago, because over the past 5 years, I never saw us as being a serious contender. So that's why I was advocating, let's just do this now. But here we are. And, it's not a rebuild year, but definitely retool, kind of reroute the franchise, if you will. And it's going to have some bumps. The Penguins have that kind of season coming soon. That can's getting kicked down, but inevitably Crosby and Malkin are going to have to ride to the sunset, and the Penguins are going to suck for a year. So,
a podcast like this, it's good to, and I hate bringing this up because I hate the first take type podcast where you're just yelling at each other about stuff. That stinks. But we gotta say wild stuff. So I'm gonna try to be funny and say some crazy stuff as we go on here. But on a semi-serious note, this could not end up super bad. I remember, and I can't remember what year it is, or year it was. Peyton Manning, near the end of his time with the Colts, He gets hurt for the year. I think it was either hurt first regular season game or last preseason game. He was out. And if you remember at that time, obviously Peyton Manning was a great quarterback, but their backups were awful. I had like Jim Sorgi and Chris Painters.
I forgot all
guys,
about them.
Yeah, the guys were just awful and everything. Well, so get this. So, you're playing Jim Sorgi throughout the year. So they win 3-4 games. I mean, they were horrible. They didn't do that well. Peyton Manning was still on your team. He was out for the year. So at the end of the year, you remember suck for luck. Andrew Luck was a hot young quarterback at the time. The Colts still had a good team, but since their quarterback went kafooey,
the team went kafooey.
Right. But they had the first pick in the draft. They picked Andrew Luck. They got better quick. I mean, they didn't become a Super Bowl team their first year, but they weren't in the doghouse for a super long time. So this doesn't have to be like it's not like we're like the Israelites in the wilderness for 40 years. I mean,
or the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, this could rebound not a super long time, but right now it looks really dark. A couple thoughts. Ryan Clark on ESPN, I think it was Monday. Again, Ryan Clark's a sports talker. He's paid, he's not paid like us. He's paid a lot better than us, but he's paid to give hot takes and everything. But one thing that Ryan Clark said, I fully agree with. He's like, look, the Steelers didn't fight. Tomlin at least will give you a fighting chance, even when you don't have a good of a team. And I agree with him. They didn't fight at all. And, was it all Mike Tomlin's fault? Probably not. But Mike's your head coach. He's your main dude there. Buffalo is a really, really, really good football team this year. Okay, those things happen. I will tell you, though, Paul, and because I live in Ohio, and Ohio likes doing stupid things to me, like showing Browns games over Steelers games. I have red zone, so I was able to follow the game, get look-ins through red zone. So I didn't see every play of the game, and they quickly forgot the game because Buffalo was winning by 1 million points. But Buffalo's a really good team. What embarrassed me about the Steelers was they were crappy, and we've got 52 more minutes to tell all the guys we thought were crappy. It's probably going to take 52 hours because they all suck. But the thing with it is, you got to the point, and I mentioned this on our text thread from Sunday, they were kicking field goals when they were down 21 points. And I listened into the press conference after. I knew they were going to ask Mike Tomlin, and pretty much what he was like is, what else could we have done? I mean, it's like 4th and 8. We're not going to convert those. We might as well kick a field goal. Paul, it reminded me, I live here in Columbus, Ohio. The Buckeyes play a couple patches at the beginning of the year. It's like the Bowling Greens and Toledo's of the world come in, and they're like, what are we going to do? We're playing Ohio State. We might as well kick a field goal when we're down by 50. That, in essence, is what Mike Tomlin said against the Bills. And, yeah, the Bills are a much better team than the Steelers are. Let's don't kid ourselves. But it's still the NFL. I mean, still any given Sunday, maybe you can pull it off. Maybe you can do something. What were they bringing to the game? And I think Ryan Clark hit the nail directly in the head and said, hey, even when we sucked, last year, they shouldn't have come close to the Bills. They came in and they fought the Bills. They won. They shouldn't have beat the Bengals this year. They came in, they fought, they won. Well, they got lucky, but honestly, they fought hard to even get within close enough to, fluke out when the Bengals long snapper got hurt to do that. You know what I mean? If they didn't fight, they would have been losing by 21 points. It wouldn't matter.
Vinka fought.
Yeah. So, they didn't fight at all. And let me mention this. I want your opinions on this. Who fought on the team? I mean, I can mention probably enough for one hand. Kenny Pickett, because he got mad enough when they kept on cheap shotting him, when the second time he went after the guy. Bravo, Kenny Pickett. You're showing fight that no one else on the team was showing. James Daniels, he was the first guy to hop in both times when Pickett was getting, late hitted by the Bills. Who else fought? Maybe Arthur Millay. I don't know if you heard the story.
Mm-hmm.
After the game, he was in the locker room and he was getting mad, going, "Hey, you guys are smiling, laughing. What are you doing?" And he was saying this in front of reporters. So it was kind of crazy that he did that when the reporters were in the room too. He fought. Maybe he didn't fight during the game, but at least he tried to show leadership afterwards. Paul, I wasn't at the game. I was on the sidelines. I don't know who else made comments. I didn't see ever play. Who else fought during that game? I don't mean fist fighting. I'm just talking about guys that gave a crap. No one did.
I think for me, it's being reflected in, and I'm not trying to pile on, but over the first couple of weeks, Trubisky was blaming Matt Canada. He's blaming this person, that person. He's Deontay Johnson now kind of squawking and crabbing, and they're not stepping up and saying, I've got to be better. Johnson's just like, if you think you can do better, then come out here and do it. It's like, you've trained for this your whole life. You're getting paid millions of dollars. We can see you dropping balls, and you're being paid a lot of money to not drop them. So we're just asking that you not drop them, which is what you're being paid to catch them, not to drop them. And none of us are saying we could catch them better. We're just saying that you're paid to do this. So just do it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, because I'm just confirming this story. I saw news about this and now I'm not. So before I mention it, I want to make sure it really happened. I didn't dream this.
It's not Cam Hayward's butt, is it?
Well, did you see the Joe Woods story?
No.
Defensive coordinator for the Browns. I saw a report. Let me check Adam Schefter's Twitter. Maybe I did not see this. Maybe I didn't see it like I thought I did. I heard something that Joe Woods got fired tonight.
Oh.
I'm not seeing that now, so maybe he hasn't gotten fired yet. Huh, that's very interesting. Okay. Maybe I was looking at a wrong Adam Schefter site. There were some reports that, Schefter might have been fired. Not Schefter, sorry. Joe Woods. Jeez, I'm like saying whatever, it's going my brain. There were some reports that Joe Woods' job might be in trouble. Now, we're recording this Wednesday. Who knows what's happening? Check Adam Schefter tweets to see what's going on. I will say the Browns, their defense is terrible against the Chargers. They give them a ton of rushing yards. What did they do? That night, they traded for Deion Jones. Now, Deion Jones is a good linebacker for the Falcons. He's hurt. That's why they didn't have to give up a ton for him. I'm not sure if Deion Jones is going to change the whole Browns, team or defense or not. Maybe he's still hurt. Maybe it's a dumb move. But the Browns understood, oh, crap, our linebackers stink. We're giving up a ton of yards. Let's do something about it. After the game, Mike Tomlin, they were like, oh, would you change coordinators? Would you change this or that? And, Tomlin was like, yep, everything's on the table. And so I'm sitting here, and I'm like refreshing my Twitter during the day, Monday, going, oh, man, is there going to be another Minka-style trade? Or are we going to drop somebody? Or is there going to be some move? Is Canada finally fired? Nothing happened. I mean, I think the biggest news personnel-wise was one of Kenny Pickett's former receivers. They had him for a visit. And, okay, they had him for free agent visit in the middle of the year. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's buddies with Kenny Pickett. But this guy's not going to change your franchise around, And I'm sitting here. I'm like, the Browns, at least did something. And I'm not saying you should trade your whole team that night. I know NFL doesn't work that way. But where's the fight? I mean, we've followed this team most of our lives, and we know it's a bunch of mean, jerky kind of guys. I mean, Mean Joe Green. I love Mean Joe Green, but you don't want to be going Mean Joe Green for on side. I'm sure, Yeah, if you played like crap, he'd fight you. James Harrison. I mean, I know Rod Woodson and Troy were more contemplative guys. They weren't the rah guys. But James Harrison, did you want not to play hard with James Harrison? Oh, I mean, he would come after you. And, you know, I look at how bad you play against Buffalo. And I would sit there thinking, what's happening that night? I mean, is Cam Hayward screaming at the guys in the locker room? Is Mike Tomlin like, man, I had enough of this, you know, I'm going to go to NBC and be a broadcaster. You know, you would think that there would be a players only meeting or just a big emotional argument in the locker room or something. And we don't know what happens behind closed doors, but you're hearing Mike Tomlin. It's like, oh, yeah, we got a lot to do. It's going to take us a while. We'll try to get there. And, okay, I know Mike Tomlin's being honest. I know he understands that, you know, they're not going to just win the rest of the games. I get that. But, Paul, the fight's gone. I love Mike Tomlin. I'm not saying go fire Mike Tomlin. But you know what, Paul? We do this in our jobs. We go to the job. We're good. After 5 years, we might say, man, time for something else. And maybe the place that we went to said, you know, they're good people, but it's time for a different voice, a different thought and everything. I mean, I'm not saying fire Mike Tomlin. I can't believe it would fire him in the middle of the year. But, and this Matt Canada thing. I mean, there's reports saying half the organization hates Matt Canada, but, you know, Mike Tomlin's keeping him in and everything. I know the Steelers are loyal. I know they don't change coordinators like in the middle of the year that often, but he's not doing anything for you. And I'm sitting here, and Paul, they're going to be lucky to get back to 500. I think it's going to be a miracle if they do that. But after a game like that, I know you can't change all the guys at the drop of a hat. But are you stunned they've done nothing? I mean, nothing at all.
Yes. And I don't know what, you know, what I feel like something should have been done, if for no other reason than to make a statement. And I will say I love Mike Tomlin. I love his fire, his passion. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. But that being said, I don't know that Tomlin is a rebuild coach.
Yeah.
I think if we fired Mike Tomlin, he would get swallowed up in a heartbeat and row. I think he's a great coach for a team that's either up and coming or established. I don't know if he's the guy to build something essentially from the ground up, which, I mean, you look at the age of our key players. NFL rebuilds can happen pretty quick. So we're pseudo rebuild. I don't know if he's the right guy. I think the question that the organization needs to ask is 5 years from now, who are going to be our key? Do we want Matt Canada here for the next several years? Is Tomlin the coach we hope to keep for the next several years? Because you've got a core group of players, first, second, third year guys who can be your future for the next 5+ years. So who do you want to grow along with them? If you're not sold that Matt Canada is going to be your offensive coordinator moving forward, just let him go now.
Well, here's the other thing. Let's say Mike Tomlin even resigns. At the end of the year, it's like, hey, I'm sure he'll end up being a broadcaster somewhere. So it's probably like, hey, you know, he'll do the Bill Cowher thing where you just sit there and say, you know, I don't want to have to run around like an idiot, you know, all week long. I'd rather, you know, get paid millions for commenting on games or whatever. And he would do that. He's a smart guy and everything. So if the Steelers promote from within, okay, you don't want Matt Canada to be your head coach.
No.
Who's their coordinator? Austin, you know, is their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing the best he can with a bunch of injuries. I don't know if Austin's a problem at all. Do you want Austin to be your head coach?
No.
Here's the other thing, and I probably get in trouble for saying this. Yeah, and again, don't mean to talk about the network that we came from, but I know sometimes they get upset when you say things that are a little bit critical. Is Brian Flores the head coach? I mean, I love the fact they got Brian Flores. I don't know what he's done so far this year. I mean, I'd much rather have Brian Flores in the organization than not. But I mean,
I don't know what all he's empowered to do right now.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the question's going to come up, and you raised it. If Mike Tomlin left, yeah, he's going to get hired by some contender. Like, they'll drop a guy just to bring in Mike Tomlin. I totally understand, totally get that. I guess the big question that's going to come up is, and if this thing continues to go south, which it probably should, okay, Mike Tomlin's not your coach. Who is your head coach? Think about the Browns. We haven't had to think about this for years and years and years. Every year when the Browns did terrible, it was like, all right, who's going to be the head coach? Is it going to be a hot young assistant? Is it going to get a college guy or wherever else the case may be? I mean, is there anybody to throw out there? Because if they promote from within, it sure as heck better not be Canada. Yeah, I don't know if Austin's that head coach. Brian Flores should probably make the most sense. Yeah. But, I mean, are we sure Brian Flores is the guy for rebuild? I don't know. I mean, he did a good job with Miami. I don't know.
I certainly give him a credit. I mean, what I would do if I were Rooney is I would do that now and see what, kind of give Flores a bit of a trial run
like the
rest of the season. He might be the guy, because I guess for me the reality is, if let's say Mike Tomlin retires after next season, now you've got to take these young players who are beginning to settle into a groove, and now you're going to essentially blow up the team by changing your head coach at that point. I'd rather do this now than wait another year or two.
Or what I would even do too, because in some ways it's going to be kind of a wild move to fire Mike Tomlin. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just say, hey, Mike Tomlin resigns or like retires, retires right away, and then or even retires or do what the Buccaneers do with Bruce Arians. Arians retired. Now, there was some talk saying, did Brady want Arians out? Who knows what's going on there? But, they didn't say, hey, go home, old man. They pretty much said, hey, we'll name you our advisor to whatever he's advising. He's sitting in the front office. He's at games and everything. Why don't you do that to Mike Tomlin? Mike Tomlin retires or whatever, says, hey, don't want to be the head coach anymore. So say, hey, you could be an assistant to Omar Khan, the GM. Oh, great. And then, we'll see him in the, in the skybox during games. Oh, that's Mike Tomlin. I mean, again, that's what they're doing to Bruce Arians. He's still around. And then, like you said, give Flores a chance at the end of the year. And if he's good, all right, he's already the head coach. He probably won't leave for anywhere else. And if he's bad, okay. Heck, if he's bad, make him a defensive coordinator or whatever the case would be. Who knows?
If he looks like he's going to be the captain of the ship, then
he's already your head coach.
Who his coordinators are going to be? You've got a brand new GM. Go ahead with a brand new coach. Head into next year, new coordinators. Just since this year is essentially already a wash, let's do these now and work the kinks out so that we can hit next year running instead of still trying to claw and figure out our way.
I think, and it's going to be wild if you do that to head coach and a coordinator at the same time. Mike Sullivan, and again, I don't know much about Mike Sullivan. I mean, he was the coordinator one of the years that Eli Manning was the quarterback for the Giants. I don't know if Eli Manning was great that year or bad. I don't know. But he was a coordinator before. All right, you're the interim offensive coordinator. And, who's going to coach Kenny Pickett? Well, the offensive coordinator hangs off the quarterback. He can handle both. I mean, it's not like, Mike Sullivan has to cook the hot dogs before the game too. You know, he's already hanging out with Kenny Pickett. He can hang out with Kenny Pickett even more. Yeah, I just think we're getting to that point. And I guess the argument against that is you could say, well, okay, if your defense gets healthy, we're not a Super Bowl contender, but we're not a 1-16 team. I mean, I get that.
But what's the difference between 9-8 and 1-16?
Yeah. Yeah. I will say it's a little different than basketball because in basketball, you want to stink to get a good guy. And, like, you know, think about when the Cavs got LeBron. I mean, they went from a really bad team to a middle-of-the-pack team right away just because of one guy. Unless you have a transformational quarterback or something. I'm not saying anything ill about Kenny Pickett or CJ Stroud or not. You need that LeBron-type player in football to really turn your team around for one guy. It usually doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. I mean, you would need, like, you would take, like, a Walter Payton level running back to...
That can play like Walter Payton right away. It's not like it takes a year or two to do it. And I don't know who that is in the draft. I mean, I'm partial to, CJ Stroud in Ohio State. I thought he was...
Have you learned nothing?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, okay, I watch him each week for Ohio State. He does some nice things. Is he better than Pickett? I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. He could be. He couldn't be. Who knows? You know what I mean?
You know what's been true for the past, 20 years? Every Ohio State quarterback's like, wow, he's amazing. We've had this conversation. Step away from the cliff there, Chris, please. Just step away.
I feel about CJ Stroud like I feel with Kenny Pickett, or like I feel even with a guy like Malik Willis. They're a young guy. They've got stuff to bring to the table. I think they all could be good. Am I going to stake my life on if they're going to be the next Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or whatever? No, because I literally don't know. And I mean, you just got to wait and see. And all right, let's talk about quarterbacks. We'll keep it brief. Mitch Trubisky. I think I've said this succinctly to Joe last week. You need to find a franchise quarterback.
Yep.
Okay. Mitch Trubisky isn't your franchise quarterback. There was some lum on the network who we came from who pretty much said, yeah, Mitch Trubisky could be like Pat Mahomes. He could be MVP candidate. Okay, ridiculous comment. That's so...
He would have been that by now.
No, right, he's not. Well, and if he was this year, he'd been playing so well that our podcast would just be singing Mitch Trubisky praises. Like, if he threw 4 and 5 touchdowns every game this year, yeah, we'd be like, oh, bench Kenny Pickett. Let's keep this Mitch Trubisky guy. He's the opposite of that. So he's not an MVP candidate. That's a ridiculous comment to make. So he's not your franchise quarterback, and Mason Rudolph is not your franchise quarterback. Now, if they were, say, 4-1 or 3-2, okay, you play a veteran guy. They're not. You're 1-4. You're horrible. You got to play the rookie. I thought Kenny Pickett looked all right. I mean, it's one game. Who knows?
That was his first start.
But what I'm saying is, no matter what he did, I mean, if he threw 5 touchdowns and they upset the Bills, it was like crazy. Yeah, we're excited, but I wouldn't even after that game say, "Oh my gosh, he's Johnny Unitas. He's great." It's one game. You don't know, and obviously it didn't go well because they lost 38-3. I don't think the 3 points was all Kenny's fault. He threw 1 interception. Okay. I mean, I think the thing you find with Kenny Pickett is he's a lot more like Brett. I'm not comparing him to Brett Favre. He's like a Brett Favre or a Ben Roethlisberger, where he just goes out and wings it. And when that happens, there's going to be picks that happen. It's not like a Mitch Trubisky where he seems to be afraid to throw an interception, or even the times where he doesn't throw interceptions, he doesn't throw great passes. So
I don't know that even that interception, it was an interception, and obviously that never looks good for a quarterback, but I don't think you could look at that throw and say it's his fault. I think he threw great defensive reaction to get that ball. I don't think there's any fault in what Pickett did in that interception.
But one thing is, if you're a thrower as a quarterback, those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Brett Favre threw 1 billion interceptions. Does that mean Brett Favre was a horrible quarterback? No, he was one of the better quarterbacks in NFL history. Well, part of it was he just threw it. He kept throwing it. And when you do that, you're not going to be perfect. Sometimes it's never okay to throw an interception, but sometimes, I mean, you got to try. You know, if you're not trying, you're not succeeding. I mean,
and some of Trubisky's interceptions weren't necessarily his fault. I mean, I know it's like that big black mark against a quarterback, but sometimes you throw the ball where it needs to be thrown, but a defender still finds a way to get in there.
Turnovers are a huge deal in the NFL. Where it gets to be concerned is when you're throwing 2+ interceptions in a game. I think that's when you can start looking at it and saying, "Oh, well, he turned the ball over a lot." One interception, it happened. It's life, you know. Paul, look at what you did today, or look at what you're going to do tomorrow. Not everything's going to go well. You're going to say something you didn't mean to say. You're going to be late or whatever. It's going to happen, and you deal with it, and you try to not make turnovers all day long. But and you know, Kane Pickett the same thing. Okay, he threw an interception. If it was his fault or not, who cares? He threw 1 interception. It happens. If you have a guy that's going to be throwing a lot of passes, there's going to be picks that happen time to time. I mean,
forget about the score. Just look at how he played. I and obviously I'm a Pickett fan and have been, and Joe's harped on me for it. But for a first start, I have no complaints.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. It's ridiculous to say it was like an A+ performance. It wasn't, but I wouldn't sit here and go, "Oh my gosh, don't start Kenny Pickett again."
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were expecting an A+ performance, would have been ridiculous from a rookie in their first start. I mean,
well, yeah, I'm curious to see how it does against Tom Brady. It's probably not going to be a win. Let's say it for what it's worth now. It'll probably be a loss, but I just want something.
I do like his comment though about that. I think it was today he did it in his press conference. He was asked about, you know, facing off against the greatest of all time, and he's like, "Well, I'm going up against their defense, and our defense is going to take care of Tom Brady." So it's like it's not really me versus, like, we're not on the field at the same time.
Well, we should talk to Kenny Pickett. We talked during our last podcast about cheating or telling the truth or something. I mean, they should be like, Kenny, we're down a bunch of quarterbacks. We're not the defense we had before. I know, you know, if you look back at the Bengals game, yeah, everyone was healthy. Everything was going good. Not sure if we're going to be able to stop Tom Brady. I don't like Tom Brady, but, you know, that's going to happen. But, I mean,
the key to standing a chance is going to come into the category of wide receivers, which I don't know if you're ready to shift to that.
Yeah. We've got 23 minutes, and again, Pickett's fine. He's not the problem. Let's say this quick because we got a lot to get through. Najee Harris, I think he's hurt. The Liz Frank injury happened. I think it's a combination of I think he's hurt. I think some questions need to be raised. Is he really running the best? You said this earlier. I can't remember if it was you or somebody else talked about. He's kind of like a Le'Veon Bell, like he's waiting around before he.
Yeah, he's kind of doing the, you know, that's not his style, and I don't know if he's doing it because he's hurt or what's causing that. But he's a bulldozer. Be a bulldozer.
I think
his body can handle it.
Yeah, I think half of he's hurt, and I think the other half the technique is off. And what should be another indictment of Matt Canada is Matt Canada loves the run, pass thing. So if you're hell-bent in doing the run, passing, make sure your running back's okay. And if you don't think he's okay, you pull Mike Tomlin aside and say, he's not okay, Jaylen Warren should start, which I'm starting to think Jaylen Warren should start.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that Najee's not that great of a running back. I think we've seen that he's a special talent. So with that, I say, don't play around with him.
If he's hurt,
let him rest as much as he needs to. Same with TJ. Don't rush that guy back.
Well, and shame on the Steelers. We talked about this. And I know all these veteran running backs that we're talking about, it's like going to the dollar store to look for a movie. You know they're not going to be great movies. They're not going to be top of the line. It's going to be Smokey and the Bandit 15 or whatever. But you might need that extra DVD in your collection. So you buy the DVD, bring it home, whatever. Same thing. I mean, David Johnson, I talked about him. He's not the same David Johnson as 5 years ago. But another running back in there that could run could have taken the pressure off Najee. I don't think I think Jalen Warren has done a bunch of nice stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to help Jalen Warren if you start giving him the ball 25 times a game. But shame on the Steelers for not bringing in a David Johnson or one of the other guys out there, just to at least take some of the carries off the pressure. So you could have a Jalen Warren carrying the ball maybe 15 times a game, but you have like a David Johnson doing the other 10 or something.
Or utilize your freaking fullback.
Well, I think he sucks too. I think that's another issue. Thankfully, it's not impacting the team. Titans. I guess the other thing I say about that, yeah, Private Freiermuth is nice when he's healthy. Again, sorry to bring up the other guys all that much, but last podcast I did over there, they were talking about, Pratt Freiermuth's a definite, Pro Bowler. Is he? I mean, he's good. I don't mind Pat Freiermuth, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He wore out at the end of last year. He's getting concussions. Now, is part of it is the play calling sucks, and is part of it is his quarterback was giving the ball in the right positions? Yes, it was. But before you start anointing Pat Freiermuth as the next great tight end, stay healthy. I mean, and he's not, which is tough. Receivers, yeah, we need to spend a little bit of time on this. We talked about, man, George Pickens could really push, Deontay Johnson, really push Chase Claypool. Oh, he's pushed him out. I mean, he's the best receiver on the team by far. Yeah. And I'm not saying this just to get hot take awards or whatever. Deontay Johnson, I think he had 13 targets. He got 5 catches. That's awful.
Yeah. It's not even close at this point.
I saw balls going through his hand and everything. And the punk, and I'll call him a punk, he's already blocked me on Twitter. They were asking about it. They're like, well, we need people to come down. And, if you think you're that much better, come down and play with us. Okay, I'm a 47-year-old guy that's in not great shape and everything. Okay, yes, Deontay Johnson, congratulations. You're a better athlete than I am. You can probably run the 40 quicker than I am. You can probably catch more balls than I am. But my job isn't to play football at a high level for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Your job is to play football at a high level.
And we're seeing other gentlemen in the NFL who are catching similar passes, and you're not. We're simply saying if you are our self-proclaimed number one receiver, then it's fair to compare you to other number one receivers that we see, and it's not a good comparison.
And you have a quarterback that's giving the ball, he can't do it. And I wish that one of the guys was bad. Like maybe like you can say, Deontay Johnson's regressed, but man, look at that Chase Claypool. Yeah, I'll say it. Look at that Chase Claypool. He's done nothing. He's been absent, and I don't know what to say. I'm embarrassed. I mean, go back in the archives of this show, and like 2 years ago, I'm like, Paul, Chase Claypool's like Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson. No, he's not. He's like you and me trying to play football. He's awful.
He should be, though. I mean, he has he has the tools. He just I don't know if he's not. I don't know if it's mental, what's happening, but by all accounts, he should be at that level, but he's not.
George Pickens missed a season. I mean, most of the last season. George Pickens was like 6 catches and 8 targets. Deontay Johnson was 5 for 13. I mean, come on. And, it's not even just that Pickens is outshone like, Johnson and Claypool. I'm not even sure if Johnson and Claypool are 2 and 3 on their team anymore. And the issue is I can't tell you who should be the other number 2 guy. I mean, is Austin ever going to get unhurt? I mean, I'm with Joe. Okay, yeah, it'd be nice to see Austin. I can't guarantee he's going to do anything. I mean, he hasn't shown up on the – the other day I saw, he's on the practice field. Was he practicing? Oh, we don't know. He's just – staying on the sidelines. I mean, I love the idea of Calvin Austin. get healthy, get on the field so I can see what you could do. Gunner is dropping punts. I'm not sure if they want him out there. And you got Miles Boykin, who does nice things, but he hardly ever gets a chance to play. I mean, I don't know what to say about the receivers.
We were enamored by the depth we had coming into the season, and now it's like,
there's none.
We got Pickens.
Yeah, no, it's bad. And, I saw some, Steeler media people like, oh, well, they better throw the ball at Pickens a lot more. Okay, in theory, yeah, you do. But part of being a good pass offense is throwing to different people. If you start throwing every pass to George Pickens and force it in, you're going to get a situation where you saw Baker Mayfield, trying to get 15 targets at Odell Beckham, and Beckham couldn't catch anything because he had a bunch of guys around him, You've got to diversify the offense a little bit, and they're not. It's awful.
I mean, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you're playing baseball or kickball, whatever, and that one kid comes up and you're like, easy out. I mean, it's kind of like, don't even cover Johnson. He's not going to catch it.
Oh yeah. Defense, okay, a little bit different. Lots of injuries. There's not injuries on the offense. So take this with a grain of salt. I mean, Cam Hayward, I think, is hurt. I think Cam Hayward's too proud to come out. And in some ways, I admire him for that. But he's getting double teamed. I think he's nicked up. I think that's why he hasn't
His
done
butt's
much.
healthy because it's retweeting things.
Yeah, I don't know. I usually think when this stuff happens, maybe it's something in the middle. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think his butt is necessarily retweeting stuff. Maybe that tweet, apparently it started out being nice. Like, hey, Cam is showing a lot of hustle and moxie. And I think at the end it was like, oh, linebackers stink. You had to run by him. And he kind of took a shot at Mike Tomlin. Yeah, mistake on Cam's end. I don't think Cam's given up on the team. I think maybe Cam read half a tweet and was like, sure, I'll retweet it without reading the rest of it.
Yeah, look, covering it's to retweet something is more than a butt is capable of doing.
Right, but he tried to protect himself. I mean, one, now who knows? He may have been mad. I mean, okay, we get mad. Maybe he got mad and just said, screw this and hit retweet. Or maybe he read half of it. Whatever. It's funny. My job now, I'm in more of a forward-facing job, so I used to retweet stuff and people didn't see him as much because I was kind of one of the background guys. Now I'm a forward guy. And, bosses say, hey, be careful about what you tweet, which makes sense and everything. But I kind of wonder at a certain point, it's like, are we focused too much on this stuff? I mean, those guys are human like us,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and just come out and say, I was angry. I regret it. Or just own up to it. But
Paul, if I had to pick what happened, I don't even know if he was angry. I think he read half of a tweet. But just think about us. We might get one or two mentions on Twitter a day, and we're like, whoa, look at that. Who mentioned me? Why did you mention me? What's going on? Those professional athletes get, 100 mentions a day, maybe, if not more?
I've never actually gone on Twitter and looked to see if anyone's mentioned me. It's highly unlikely.
Probably me when I retweet this podcast from 10 different social accounts. But what I'm saying is, I mean, okay, simple answer. Cam should have looked at his Twitter more. He should have read the whole message and everything. I don't think it was offensive or crazy what he did. I think it was just more. He probably got mad one night, or he just didn't read the whole tweet. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, back to your point, I think there's something's off with him on the field.
Yeah. The rest of the guys, I mean, Leal had a couple good plays over the past couple weeks. He got hurt. Not sure if he's going to be able to play next week. I would see more Leal. I think he's done good in the limited time he's been able to play. Linebackers, Malik Reed. That's a dude from Denver. I was trying to figure out who he was. Malik Reed's a real nice guy, Paul. I listened to the Arthur Moats podcast. he had Malik Reed on it, and they were talking about their faith in Christ and everything. So, bravo, Malik Reed. I love where you're at with God. Malik Reed just isn't anywhere on the football field. So, yay for his faith, but he's not really performing. Highsmith had off game too. Obviously, no TJ Watt. Miles Jack still doing what he can do. I mean, he's definitely not an issue with the team. But then you don't really have any solid answers on Devin Bush and Robert Spillane. I mean,
nope.
They didn't look good on Sunday. Quarterbacks, I don't know, man. A lot of them were out. Witherspoon missed the game. Levi Wallace had a nice pick on Josh Allen earlier in the game, but he got concussion. He got knocked out. Cam Sutton got knocked out. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but part of the problem with the Steelers was they were without the top 3 cornerbacks. And Josh Allen was going to torture me with the top 3 cornerbacks, but without them, he had a lot of fun. And remember, they had the Levi Wallace interception where he caught it in the end zone. There's another time when the Bills fumbled on the 1 and when the end zone, the Steelers recovered. So they could have easily scored 50-plus points, if not more. I think they ran the clock out at the end of the first half when they were in Steelers territory, too. So the Bills are kind of actually nice a little bit on that stuff. Safeties, too. I mean, Minka's Minka. I mean, you're right. He had off game Sunday, but more times than not, Minka's going to be all right.
Yeah.
But they didn't have Terrell Edmonds. And Terrell Edmonds is playing really well this year. So, so I think, well, before we get there, special teams was bad. Harvin shanked the punt, and Chris Boswell 1 for 3. And, he's not perfect. He's going to miss some stuff. I hope it's not a trend. Because remember, he had a really bad season a couple years ago.
Yep.
That's the last we need. But, and he's due to have a bad season. I mean, he's been playing really well over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Coaching sucks. Probably of the 3 right now, I think Austin's doing the best job because he's got nothing to work with. But do more. One guy, Minka Fitzpatrick, was the only guy that had a hit on Josh Allen on Sunday.
That's crazy. I mean, And
the simple answer is you have no TJ Watt. I get that. But you're an NFL football team, okay?
Exactly.
Not everybody in the team is TJ Watt. But we're acting like it's the high school where, like, the one outside linebacker is great. He might be going Division I, and the other guy is someone who likes wearing football outfits because he can score with girls there or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not – there's not that much of a talent disparity, like you would say in high school. I mean,
right.
Somebody's got to step up. You got to do something crazy. Flores has got to do something nuts to get people doing wild stuff. And they're just not doing that. Obviously, Canada stinks. And Tomlin, I don't think he stinks. I think it's passed him by. So
yeah, I think he could excel at a team that's got the pieces already in place, which is kind of the situation he came into when he took over for Cowher.
I'm going to ask a really hard question. If the Steelers have a new coach for next year, again, we're not saying Mike Tomlin stinks. We're just saying he may not want to be here if the season goes south. And like Paul said, I don't know if he's the best rebuilding type coach. Who's the coach you have in mind? Again, this could change. We're just throwing this out there.
I mean, there's so many in terms of coordinators, college coaches, you name it. I can't keep up with them all. I never even heard of Kevin Stefanski till the Browns hired him. Right now, my eye is on Flores, unless they see something in somebody else. He's at the top of my list right now. Yeah.
They like promoting internal candidates, so, Flores wouldn't be the worst choice of that. Here's the other thing. I have no idea if they're interested in him or if they like him or if he even likes Pittsburgh. Eric Bieniemy. I'm hearing, the coordinator for the Chiefs that, everyone thinks has been turned down a billion times. Andy Reid has his fingers all over the Chiefs offense, so I'm not sure if it's yay, Bieniemy's great or yay, Andy Reid's great. I mean, you want to spruce up your offense. Now, I don't even know if Eric Bieniemy is a quarterback coach. So I don't know if it's like, oh man, he could really team up and make Kenny Pickett even better. I don't know, but I'm with you.
Could just be waiting for Reed to finally step aside.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying, and we'll ask that question as long as the Steelers are doing bad. I'd say right now, Flores is probably my top pick for a second guy, Andy Reid. I saw some crazy stuff out there, like Sean Payton is out there, and he's probably waiting for somebody.
No,
I think Sean Payton has already said he's. Well, he hasn't said that publicly, but everything we're hearing, it's like Dallas. Right? He's from an area, that might be something that would intrigue him. But Dallas is doing good right now, so I don't think they need to fire their coach. Here's the other question. All right, we'll look each week at where the Steelers are at in the draft. So right now they're at number 1. Who do you pick? Now I know we don't. You might not know all the names. What
I don't know the names, but I know the profile of the biggest stud offensive lineman that's in the draft is who I want, and I'll take 3 of his friends.
Well, here's going to be an interesting thing, and obviously these guys are going to change as the season goes. But right now, they're saying that the top 3 guys in the draft. Now you can pick whoever you want, but the guys that we're hearing at the top of the draft is C.J. Stroud, the kid that won the Heisman from Alabama last year. He's a quarterback, or Will Anderson, who's an edge guy from Alabama. I mean that. Well, then here's the other side: trade down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, none of that. For me, I want the best offensive lineman available.
And I guess what I'm telling you is not that they all stink, but they're probably not worthy of being drafted number 1. So what you might need to do is you trade down number 1, hopefully get a really nice package of picks. And I'm talking multiple picks, maybe a first-round pick in the following year's draft. And then you sit there and say, if it's offensive line, which is not a bad place to go at all, maybe you sit there and say, okay, where do we trade down where we can get a good offensive lineman? Maybe you trade down to 8, or maybe you trade down to 10 or something. And hopefully get a bunch of picks back. Because here's the other thing. Okay, you might not be looking for that franchise quarterback in the draft. And if Kenny Pickett totally falls down and the Steelers have to get that franchise pick, that's going to hold them back even more, because in essence, you wasted that first-round pick. So hopefully Kenny Pickett's still good enough where we can say, hey, we can go somewhere else and get other needs taken care of. Because my goodness, they got 50 of them. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say trade down. That would be my pick right now.
I could entertain that. I would throw in Johnson and Claypool to sweeten the deal to trade down.
Well, but, I watched the podcast for the weekend where they said, what are you going to get for them?
If I can get a 300-plus pound dude in the 6th round, I'll take it.
Okay, so yeah, you pretty much have to trade him for a 6th-round pick right now. I mean, or one of the silly things where you say, we'll give you Deontay Johnson as 6th, you give us a 4th, where you're still trading a pick, but you get a little bit of a sweetener to do that, Mm-hmm. I mean, those guys aren't going to get anything. I mean, you're going to hear some talk now. Okay, the Steelers are kind of out of it, so the trade deadline comes up. So what do? Do we trade our veterans? What are you going to get for some of these guys? I heard a dumb thing where, like, Mitch Trubisky was going to get traded to New England for a 3rd-round draft pick. New England's not going to give you a 3rd-round pick for Mitch Trubisky. No way. Who else do you have that anybody's going to want? I mean, you're not trading Pickens or anything like that. But so, yeah, I'm sure they would love to trade Johnson and Claypool. You just gave Johnson a humongous contract. I mean, probably 6th-round pick at best, right?
I would take it right now.
Right. I mean, at best. I mean, so what you say, Claypool. I mean, if you watch his rookie year, maybe say, man, maybe there's something there. I mean, can you imagine him getting more than a 4th-round pick? And that might be too high.
No. And because I think my mentality right now is, if I'm the one making the decisions for the Steelers, I say let's build the offense through the draft. Let's draft some defenders if we have some good ones available, but try to get some free agents. We've got a little bit more established defense. Let's beef that up with some free agents, maybe a couple draft picks. But
see, I don't even know how much money they've got left. Trubisky could be a 1-year contract, but he's making $8 million. I mean, you're not. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not going to be as much as they had last year.
Yeah, but yeah, so my focus is get as studly of a young offensive line as possible. Make Pickens your number one. Hopefully Austin your number two. Get Freiermuth an extra thick helmet.
I think they're going to end up in either the top 5 or top 10. I don't think they're going to be number one pick. I just got a feeling they'll win a couple games to get down to 5 or 10. They just got to send smoke signals. They got to say, man, we love CJ Stroud. He's amazing. To get somebody to come up, you know what I mean, and find that pick. So, oh boy, I'm starting to get tired, and I got to wake up early to write a story for work, Paul. Hey, remind me, I asked you to promote something last time, and you talked about this upcoming concert in Pittsburgh area, and I'm like, hey, more people who live in Pittsburgh will probably hear it this time, so why don't you promote it again?
Yeah, if you're anywhere near Beaver County, I'm in the Hopewell Community Big Band. We're playing at Hopewell Park for their Fall Fest, 12:30 Saturday afternoon. The weather's supposed to be really nice in the 60s, so come on down.
Couple quick things. Hey, my new big full-time gig, prdaily.com. And you might sit and say, well, I'm not in public relations. Why would I read your magazine? I do a daily column where we kind of look at all kinds of fun current events and do it from a public relations perspective. So the column I wrote today, I talked about the new headset from Facebook or Meta. They're trying to get rid of your laptop and phone. And they say, and Paul, it's got some nice video game elements to it. Not sure if we're going to do our work on a headset. I see what Zuckerberg's trying to say. I mean, I got a couple $100 computer, for work remotely and everything. The headset cost is $1,500. So I can see his argument saying, hey, it can provide benefit. I'm just not sure. Right now, we're close to recession. I'm not sure if we're all going to be buying $1,500 headsets. But yeah, I wrote about that. What else did I write about? LA. Big story. Somebody used racist comments against black people. And she ended up resigning tonight. But kind of an interesting story there. Yeah, so go to prdaily.com. Check out a bunch of interesting things there, especially read the stories from me called The Daily Scoop. Let's see. What else we talk about? Have a couple football conversations. One with Peter Holland, our Canton Repository friend. We also talked a little Buckeye history with Jeremy Newman, and he also talked about the upcoming Circleville Pumpkin Show. Right, show. Yeah, I think I said that right. And then Paul and I talked a little bit ago about lots of cheating news, man. We're not cheating. I mean, if Mrs. Paul or Mrs. Chris listening, but we're talking about people who cheat at walleye tournaments. I never thought when we started this podcast, I never thought we were going to have a walleye themed episode. But yeah, we talked about that. What should happen to people who cheat, and if there's some times where cheating is okay, that should get people to listen. How about that? Maybe that should be the headline: "When cheating is okay" on the podcast. Bunch of creeps who wanted to cheat on their wives. They're like, yeah, I want to listen to that. See what Paul Yanchek says. Oh, well. All right. Well, Paul, I'm like that baseball pitcher that in the new rules of baseball pitches in the 5th inning, and the manager's like, oh, man, he went too long. He's getting tired. He's getting winded. I'm feeling I'm getting winded, but have fun tonight. No Joe. Hope he's okay. Anything else you want to share, Paul, before we call us a night?
No, I was just looking at. Actually, I was just scrolling through to see who the mock drafts have as the first picked offensive lineman, and so I'm putting my chips in for Jarrett Patterson, center out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think it's creepy though. It's week 5 and we're already talking about mock drafts, but hey, that's who we are now. We're the Browns. So, all right. Well, for Paul, this is Chris. We'll say for Joe. Hopefully Joe's okay. Thanks for listening to the show. Have a great night, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mooney. Welcome to what is our new Hope Interrupted podcast based on the work from our book, Hope Interrupted, that I co-authored with my good friend Byron McCauley.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm looking forward to this podcast as much as I was looking forward to writing this book with you. We hope to interview some high-impact folks as well as have a little fun.
We're going to cover stories of hope. To learn more about our podcast and our book, please visit www.hopeinterrupted.com.